Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to another off-season episode of a Colts podcast presented by Sports Illustrated and the Horseshoe Huddle. My name is Brandon Moses, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore, a salesperson who has a script, right? At work, I have a bit of a script. I got to say certain things. I think I've got the intro pretty well down to a T. I throw in something here, I throw in something there, but I could probably just record it and hit a button and do this every time.
You really could. I mean, I think we're used to it now. And hey, we're in full off-season mode now. I don't want to talk about the Jaguars anymore. We're now focused on 2022 and beyond for this Indianapolis Colts team. And man, there's a lot of question marks around this team. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? Are they going to find a long-term solution at left tackle? The weapons that's on this offense. There's so many holes and so many decisions that need to be made this offseason. And you can tell by the owner, Jim Irsay, he still hasn't calmed down from how the season ended. So I think it's going to be a wild offseason, that's for sure.
Yeah, can't blame the guy, to be completely honest. Before we dig in, though, let's go ahead and throw up our social tags here. Go follow us at A Colts Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at A Colts, COLTS, podcast, PODCAST. I was talking to our now DJ. Hey, we booked a DJ. Good for us. Page is in full swing, like I want to get stuff done mode. It's miserable. It makes me sad because I'm a procrastinator and I'm a lazy guy. But that's okay. But she's all pumped up. She's getting stuff done. And I told the guy, he was like, you know, he does some podcasting. He even has a studio that he rents out to people to let them record their podcast right in his house.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, I've got a podcast. Well, he goes, oh, what's it about? I was like, oh, it's just a Colts podcast. And he's like the football team. I was like, yeah. He goes, oh, cool. What's it called? I said, a Colts podcast. So it's that simple. Tell your friends, tell your family. Don't tell your grandpa because I don't let mine listen to it. So, Andrew, biggest question though, as you mentioned, going into this off season, it feels early to start talking about it, but you know the team is already working on stuff. And we know that the biggest question is the quarterback position. Are we sticking with Carson Wentz? What are the trade options if we don't stick with Carson Wentz? What are the free agency options if we don't stick with Carson Wentz? Maybe we draft somebody. I doubt that. We'll talk about that as well. But a lot of big questions going into it. So let's try to dive in here. Obviously, topic of conversation number one is going to be, are we going to keep Carson Wentz? And in regards to keeping Carson Wentz, what's that going to look like? What's that going to mean? What are we going to need? Let's chat about it.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week. I mean, I gave my prediction that Carson wouldn't be on the team. You gave your prediction that Carson would be on the team. So, and it really is still all up in the air because it's going to be who's available, who could the Colts possibly get. They're not just going to move off of Carson Wentz to move off of him. They're only going to move off of him if they find or if they think they have an upgrade available to them. So it's going to be quite an off season to see what happens here. So I think for the sake of the conversation and for the sake of today's episode, since we are going through all the different options, let's just focus on if Carson Wentz as right now. Let's just focus on if Carson Wentz is on the team in 2022.
Right.
It just has to be better. Today I posted the weaknesses and where Carson Wentz really struggled in my Wednesday piece today. And it was a lot of the things, especially towards the end of the year, it's not good. It's because he started to revert back into how he was in Philadelphia. Bad sloppy mechanics, holding on to the ball too long, trying to play too much hero ball. And that's what got him in trouble. And you don't want to see that, especially when he was supposed to come to Indianapolis and start to fix those things. And if you look at the film, his mechanics were good in the beginning of the year. I remember talking to you about that. But as the year went on, his mechanics slowly started to slip back into his old habits. That's kind of what Chris Ballard had talked about in his season-ending presser. So I think what the Colts absolutely need to do is, number one, I mean, Carson Wentz needs to have probably the best offseason of his career in terms of his personal growth and being able to fix some things, because if last year wasn't his last chance, this is 100% his last chance. So I think from that standpoint, that's what we need to see. And then the Colts need to do a better job of getting more weapons around him. To only have Michael Pittman Jr. be the only wide receiver that goes over 400 yards, that's unacceptable. I don't care how much the Colts ran the ball with Jonathan Taylor. They need more weapons for Carson Wentz. It can't just be all to Michael Pittman. There needs to be a second go-to wide receiver. There needs to be a tight end that can stretch the field and be a threat to the secondary. But I think it all comes down to this is, Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, they were all sitting there watching what was going on Saturday and Sunday this weekend, seeing Patrick Mahomes, who's 26 years old, Josh Allen, who's 25 years old, Joe Burrow, 25 years old. Those three quarterbacks, all in the AFC, are going to be in the AFC for the next 10 to 12 years. And the Colts have to find a solution at quarterback, whether it's Carson Wentz, whether it's some of the other guys we talk about here. It's got to come quick. Maybe if it's not this offseason, next offseason, because if not, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich probably won't be with the Colts for much longer.
Just real quick, Jake. Yeah. When we finally find our long-term solution at quarterback, that is when we will no longer have any drama at the quarterback position in the season or off season. But yeah, and I agree with the consistency thing. There were a lot of shining moments where Carson Wentz made a lot happen. He made a lot happen with his feet too. I mean, we can't ignore that.
Mm-hmm.
That is something we did not have in Phillip Rivers last year. I mean, I can't even count on one, maybe even two hands, how many times it looked like he was getting swallowed up and he just like ducks down and then all of a sudden he's out of a pile and he's standing up and able to throw the football again. Did he make the best decisions once he got to the throw the football part? Not 100% of the time. No. But I do agree he needs help. I agree he is a quarterback that is going to need the weapons to make it work. Now, Aaron Rodgers has the best wide receiver in football, maybe, in Devontae Adams. A lot of people, included, would say so. That's one of those positions right there. I'm like, it's so hard to choose. Who knows, really? But he is most certainly going to be in your top 5 at the very least. But other than that, not a whole lot in regards of top level skill. He manages to get it done. Well, Carson Wentz is an Aaron Rodgers. And I wonder how great the Chiefs offense looks with those weapons, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, etc., with a quarterback who's not Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Peyton Manning made some average receivers look like Pro Bowlers, all pros as well. Josh Allen, I mean, who's that? Gabriel, what was that guy's name? Gabriel Davis? Taylor Gabriel?
Gabriel Davis was the one that went off on Sunday night.
Is that guy as good as that game was? Probably not. Stephon Diggs, really good. But I mean, like, Josh Allen's doing it with some weapons, but nobody that us other than Stephon Diggs that you're like, man, gotta have that guy. Cole Beasley was dirt. In my opinion, I don't think Cole Beasley was that great with Dallas. And now people talk about him like he's a big time Pro Bowler. So Carson Wentz can't do it. He does need the weapons, but at the end of the day, weapons don't magically make his brain work better and get rid of those sloppy decisions that he made all season long.
Right, but I think it certainly helps. I mean, you look at like Joe Burrow this year. Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and how that has elevated the offense. T. Higgins is a very good wide receiver. Tyler Boyd is a very good third wide receiver. You got all those options around him. It just takes pressure off the quarterback. And I agree with you that I do not think Carson Wentz is a guy that's going to elevate the guys around him. That's just not who he is. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not Andrew Luck. So he's not at that caliber. He's not in the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen caliber. But I think if you do get more weapons around him, get a tight end that does spread the field, or a speedy wide receiver that can burn defenses over the top, one that can stay healthy. I'm not talking about Paris Campbell, but one that teams are actually really scared of, because it just opens things up for this offense. And that way teams can't just key in on Jonathan Taylor or key in to stop Michael Pittman Jr. You have to spread your resources around a little bit. And I think that can help. But then once those pieces are in place, then it's up to Carson Wentz to actually use them in an appropriate manner and in a way that can help this offense achieve and be as dynamic as Frank Reich wants them to be. And if it doesn't happen, then Carson Wentz is out the door, and he may even be out the door before the 2022 season starts. We just don't know yet. But if he is in a Colts uniform in 2022, number one, like I said, he absolutely has to work on himself and get himself better, because he's turning 30 years old. Pretty soon, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. He's just going to be what he is. And then the Colts, if they are going to put their chips in on Carson Wentz, I mean, Jim Irsay said it, the chips are all the way in. They're going to put it all on Carson Wentz. Get him some weapons around him, and don't act like Zach Pascal is a bona fide number 2 wide receiver in this league, because if Zach Pascal's your 3rd wide receiver, okay, you're probably comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But to not have any wide receivers go over 400 yards besides Michael Pittman, that's a huge problem for this offense.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing about getting weapons around Carson, yeah, sure, it could reduce the amount of boneheaded decisions that he makes in regards to maybe thrown into double coverage, thrown at guys that are covered in general, just locked down, because, better weapons are better at getting open. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He might be given some easier decisions. So I don't have any doubt that some better weapons could make Carson Wentz's life easier. That's for sure. Especially when we're not getting open the last 2 games of the season.
Well, and when what Ballard said too, if those guys are open, make the layups, make the easy throws. That's something that Philip Rivers excelled at. And it's really why Philip Rivers had such a great season. He took what the defense gave him. It's something that Tom Brady does all the time. Tom Brady doesn't force it. He takes what the defense gives him. He does these quick throws, gets it to his weapons, and lets them go to work. Again, Carson Wentz, you don't have to do it all, bud. Get it to your weapons, let them go to work, and let them use their talents, and you'll be amazed what they can do for you.
I don't disagree with that. With this, what Kyle Stewart says, what sucks the most is having Carson. I think he means knowing how good he could be, basically, but he just won't allow himself to hit that level. And I totally agree with that. I mean, that's a good way to put it. My biggest hope for Carson Wentz, if we stick with him, is that a year 2 is not only helpful for him, but helpful for Frank Reich. Frank Reich not building from the ground up. Frank Reich knowing his quarterback right now already in the end of January, and making moves. That's if we stick with Carson Wentz. Everybody calm down, in the chat here. We're not saying this is what we want. We're not saying that's what's going to happen. We're just talking about each of these situations, right? And last thing on Carson Wentz, I think I'm going to bring up something Matt said. If Wentz stays in, because everybody's talking about, okay, what if we get Rodgers and it's a one and done, or we get somebody else, it still doesn't work. Okay, what if Wentz, Matt says, okay, so what if Wentz stays and struggles again next season? Then what? We're pushing it off another year, leaves us, in the mid to late teens, and we have to trade our asses off to get a quarterback anyway. Yep. And there we are, right in the same situation if Carson doesn't do well. So, at the end of the day, no matter what we do this offseason, unless it's Russell Wilson or Derek Carr, I don't know, or maybe even Jameis Winston. We're going to talk about some guys. Who knows? Unless it's one of those guys that really can be at least a 5-year solution, we're going to be in this situation again next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so crucial to get the quarterback position right. And
yeah,
it's why the Colts, when they do make a move, they need to be right about it, because if not, I don't think this regime, and I mean, this is a podcast that loves Chris Ballard, that loves Frank Reich, think they're great at their jobs.
Yeah.
But at some point, you need to produce results. I mean, Frank Reich has one playoff win, and Chris, both of them, one playoff win in their entire tenure. Eventually, they need to find an answer at quarterback, and we need to start seeing some results rather than this rebuild taking 10 years. I understand Andrew Luck retired and was a big part of that, but it's getting to that point where it's time to go. It's time to find the solution.
Jake, please do mention that again when we get to the draft conversation. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Let's talk about trade options. Okay, so out there we have an Aaron Rodgers, we have a Russell Wilson, a Derek Carr, a Jimmy Garoppolo, as somewhat legitimate, realistic-ish, not really, for a couple of them, trade options. Just people that could be traded. We'll just say that. Aaron Rodgers, number one. Pat McAfee campaigning to get him in Indianapolis, of course. Aaron just said the other day on Pat's show that he'll make the announcement. He'll come to Indianapolis to make the announcement on Pat's show, which I think is amazing. But I'm really excited about that. And listen, I don't care if it's 1 year. I don't care if it's 2 to 3 years. I don't care if he comes in halfway through the season and says, let's go win us a Super Bowl. I would take me some Aaron Rodgers any day of the week. People don't like him. You know, a lot of people don't like him for whatever reason. The dude can sling the pill. Did he look bad against San Francisco? Yes, he did. But my God, he's one of the best ever.
Oh, yeah. I would certainly take Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers would elevate this team to a completely different level. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is on the Colts next year? No, I do not. Just because there's a lot of things that have to happen. It seems like he is starting, or his relationship with the front office in Green Bay has gotten much better throughout the year. So I don't think it's likely, unless him and Devontae Adams are talking or something happens where he requests a trade. Could be wrong, but I think he probably does stay in Green Bay. Now we move on to Russell Wilson, and that kind of seems a little bit more murky because Russell Wilson and Seattle, he said publicly that he would like to be a Seattle Seahawk his entire career. There's rumblings behind the scenes that
2 weeks later,
2 weeks, yeah, exactly. 2 weeks later, that's not necessarily the case. Again, I think it's going to take a lot to get Russell Wilson. However, the Seahawks are in the NFC, Colts are in the AFC. That certainly works. Russell Wilson, though, yeah, that helps. Russell Wilson, though, has a no trade clause. So Russell Wilson would need to want to come to Indy. That's the thing that's a little bit iffy as far as what I can see about Russell Wilson and why I don't think it's probable that Wilson ends up in Indianapolis.
Well, and think about, the other situations and locations that need a quarterback. New York, he expressed interest last year that he'd be interested in. I mean, he didn't say it out loud, but the list, had the New York Giants on there. I'd say what you want about Chicago, but I think Seattle would take Justin Fields as part of a trade. If he wanted to go to Chicago, there's now, New Orleans, I think, is off the table because of other news. But I mean, Indianapolis is just not on his list. Trust me, I would love to see Russell Wilson down the horseshoe. Andrew, not the biggest Russell Wilson fan, just from a fandom standpoint, just like I hate Tom Brady, but not to the degree. He doesn't dislike Russell that much. But at the end of the day, Andrew knows Russell Wilson's one damn good quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I would love it. But again, I mean, Matt's talking about it in the chat too. I mean, people are talking. Wentz is better than Russell Wilson. Okay. You're juiced on something, Big Zone there. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, what do we got to give up to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, a guy like Russell Wilson? I think the next guy on this list is a little more interesting in regards to how realistic it could be, money wise, what he would cost, because he's got 1 year left, Derek Carr?
Correct.
I think that one gets much more interesting. It's a little more difficult because he's in the AFC. What do you think about this one? I know our friend Jake from State Farm of the Horseshoe Huddle here really likes, or he just brought it up in our chat.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Derek Carr is the most realistic option if the Colts are looking to trade for a quarterback. Not only because of the money situation, like you had said, a, a lot of it is going to depend on as far as Derek Carr wanting to stay in Las Vegas. A lot of it's going to depend on this GM head coach combination that gets hired, and if it's not the right fit or it doesn't align with what Derek Carr wants, he's probably going to be looking to go elsewhere. And the big thing is the Colts, before they traded for Carson Wentz last year, we have to keep this in mind. They went to the Las Vegas Raiders and asked about Derek Carr's availability. Derek Carr has been on the Colts radar for longer than we think here. He's certainly a guy that intrigues Frank Reich, intrigues Chris Ballard. And we talk about the guys coming and working with Frank Reich and how he can help fine tune some things and really tune the offense to their strengths. Well, as far as Derek Carr is concerned, have we seen Derek Carr really work with an offensive guru? I don't consider John Gruden an offensive guru. I really don't. I don't know where that came from, but
Spider two-eyed banana.
John Gruden, I've never seen him really elevate a quarterback's play. I think Derek Carr, you could see Frank Reich elevate Derek Carr's play. He's a low-key guy, doesn't really like to go out much. He doesn't necessarily need a big city atmosphere like a Las Vegas or a New York or a Los Angeles. I think he'd fit right at home in Indianapolis, and especially having a running game, getting more weapons that I'm sure the Colts are going to be after this offseason. I really think this could be a big time get for the Colts if Derek Carr comes. I mean, he's still pretty young. I think he's only about 30 years old himself, maybe a little bit older than that. But I think that is the most realistic option. If the Colts are looking to upgrade and move off of Carson Wentz, I think Derek Carr would probably be the best situation for them as far as realistic opportunities present themselves.
I think that Stats Matt is hilarious saying Gruden still lives in 2002 NFL. That's not what I'm saying. I think Derek Carr's an upgrade. I think Derek Carr, he'll throw more turnovers possibly than Carson Wentz did this year. Maybe not, but I think he also has a confidence issue similar to what Carson Wentz did, but in a different way. Carson was all shook up by the guys behind him. I don't think Derek Carr batted an eye when Marcus Mariota came to the team. I just think John Gruden is a dick, to be completely honest with you. And I think Frank Reich is a more positive influence in a guy's life. I think Frank Reich motivates in a different way. And I think, Derek Carr was on a tear before he got hurt. I mean, Derek Carr was looking MVP level good, like good. This year, he looked good again. He looked confident and somehow got better, in my opinion, even once Gruden was gone. I think he could do good stuff with this football team. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know, what we'd have to give up to make that happen, but I'm certainly not against the Derek Carr.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I mean, I almost view the Raiders as I do the Lions.
Sure.
You saw what Matthew Stafford did when he got traded to the Rams.
Going to the Super Bowl, brother.
Matt Stafford is a favorite to win on Sunday and go to the Super Bowl. Derek Carr could, if he goes from an unstable organization like Las Vegas, gets into a stable organization like Indianapolis with a GM that can surround him with good talent, with Frank Reich, an actual quarterback guru and someone that quarterbacks love to work with, you could see a renaissance and even Derek Carr reach the next level. Now, I think Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback and has more talent than Derek Carr? Yes, I do. So I don't think maybe he can reach that level, but I think you could see the best version of Derek Carr with an Indianapolis Colts team.
Last thing on Derek Carr, Jake says that, Carr had twice as many interceptions. Carson Wentz threw a lot more interceptions, should have been interceptions on paper or than you see on paper. I mean, San Francisco, he had to have thrown 5. I mean, just right in people's chests and dropping the ball because it was so wet. Yeah.
Right, and then here's a comment by Stats Matt kind of talking about that, saying Carr had more interceptions due to his attempts, and DB's dropping more interceptions on Wentz's throws than our receivers drop catches.
And say what you will about the non-interceptions, or I feel the same way about balls that get tipped by a wide receiver and a DB ends up with that going against the quarterback. So there's some gray area in those stats either way. Let's talk. I guess let's talk about this one. I hate the hell out of this, and you know it. Jimmy G. No thanks. See ya.
Yeah, I didn't want to spend too much time on this one because I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is much of an upgrade over Carson Wentz. I think if
I
you're
don't think he is at all.
if you're gonna go between the two, you might as well stick with Carson Wentz.
Jimmy G's better looking. Handsome son of a bitch.
He's a good looking guy.
All right, let's talk about free agency, Andrew, and some options that could occur there. And I don't love any of these. I mean, this first one, I guess maybe, but I'm not sure he leaves New Orleans. Jameis Winston, interesting option. Coming off an injury, though, he did get LASIK, so he can read the playbook. So we love to see that. Jameis Winston, 2020 now. Why'd you put his name on here?
Because honestly, he's one of the top free agent quarterbacks in this class, and that kind of is a testament to the free agents class. There's not going to be very many good quarterbacks out there in free agency, so I don't expect the Colts to go this route at all. Because the guys that we're listing, again, I don't really see them as much of an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Jameis Winston he started to have a good year under Sean Payton, but does that really translate? Would you really want to eat $15 million of cap? Because if the Colts bring in another quarterback like Jameis Winston to start over Carson Wentz isn't going to be a backup. The Colts are going to cut him and eat that dead cap and move on. I don't see that happening with Jameis Winston. And I think Jameis Winston could probably go somewhere else, make more money, and have another starting opportunity, probably in New Orleans. Even though Sean Payton's moved on, I think he could have his best opportunity there. And then the rest of the guys that we have on our list here, just some of the top guys. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, again, he's another guy coming off of injury. And do you think Ryan Fitzpatrick is really going to take the Colts to that next level? I don't think the Colts are a Super Bowl contender with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think any team really is. And Andy Dalton is in that same
Hold on. Will you not run through a whole list before I get a chance to talk about anybody? Jameis Winston was having a good year, but he was also having what Jameis is going to show up this week kind of year as well. We were making jokes about it, like which Jameis is going to show up this weekend when we were making.
Are we going to get famous Jameis, or are we going to get eating a W Jameis pretty much every single week?
I can't have a guy that was sucking on his fingers on national television, be our quarterback. I don't think, but in regards to Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'd accept that as a backup just because he's the shit, and I want the Colts to be one of the many teams he's been on.
I think the Colts are the only
AFC South. No, he's not played for the Jags.
I don't think he's played for the Jags. I was going to say is if the Colts were the only AFC South team he hasn't played on.
Yeah. And then down to Andy Dalton. That's a lot of red hair in one room. Plus, he's going to be the starter for the Bears again this season.
I don't think he's back in Chicago. I think it's time to let Justin Fields take full reign and get Andy Dalton out of there. So
sometimes I forget that the podcast listeners can't see me just start to smile and laugh when I say things like that.
This free agency class is just so bad for quarterbacks. And I threw Cam Newton on there, but the Cam Newton's definitely not an upgrade over Carson Wentz from how he played this year. It's just if the Colts go the free agency route, it almost signifies that they are tanking for 2023 to get one of those quarterbacks in that class. And at that point, why spend the money? Just try out Sam Ehlinger, see what that kid's got, and don't waste the money on a quarterback from free agency that is going to be the long-term solution.
If the Giants are committed to Jones, the Giants are making a huge mistake. So I'll just say that. But they go for it. Commit to Jones. Just gives Russell Wilson one more place to cross off his list and go, you know what? Indy's a nice place. It's in the center of the country. When I need to go somewhere, I'm a few hours away on a plane ride. Jim Irsay, nice private jet. He loves to send people around in it. Works out. Yeah, and Andrew, I think you just kind of on this list.
If the Giants are committed to Daniel Jones until Russell Wilson becomes available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, big time. Andrew, you know what? I'll tell you about this list. Cam Newton's on this list. No thanks. Not going to happen also. So, but you did just kind of put a free agency list together just to show who's available and kind of just to show, I think, even to go against your own argument that Carson Wentz will be gone this year. If that happens, it's not going to come out of free agency. I would guess.
Absolutely not. And that's why I if it was up to me, I would probably keep Carson Wentz just because I don't think it's feasible that there's going to be any other options out there. But from what has been said by the front office, by Chris Ballard, and Frank Reich, and then with Jim Irsay, with everything he has said since the season ended, it's just hard to think that they would bring Carson Wentz back to do this over again. Marcus Mariota stats Matt puts in the chat. Interesting. I don't know if Mariota would be much of an upgrade over Wentz, though. I really don't. I think maybe he would fall in line with. He's probably
say Jimmy Garoppolo.
No. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Marcus Mariota.
I disagree.
But I think that he would probably fall into the Jameis Winston category, maybe a little bit higher. Just kind of depends. But yeah, I've seen the Marcus Mariota train before in Tennessee, and I don't want to relive that in Indianapolis.
Hey, what if we just dump Wentz and run 9?
Run Sam Ehlinger?
Run 4, not 9. Eason was 9.
Jacob Eason's in Seattle. I mean, if that happens, then you're looking at Bryce Young and CJ Stroud as the number 1 and number 2 pick in the NFL draft in 2023.
Could be. After seeing this list, though, I am leaning a little more towards just because of the trade options, because of the Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo thing. It scares me, but who knows? I'm more towards the middle on this. Where's Carson Wentz going to be next year thing? I'm pulling an Andrew and not committing to an answer anymore. Let's talk about the draft, Andrew. What did I say to Jake? I said comment something later. I mean, what are we going to give up to move up? You know what I mean? If we want to move up and get a good quarterback this year, we don't really have anything to give up, especially this year, in order to do that. What does the draft look like to you?
Not great. It's definitely on the lower end of quarterback classes that we've seen in quite some time. There really isn't an elite prospect. I mean, I don't think a quarterback goes top 5. There's a chance their quarterback doesn't go top 10. If that's telling you how bad this class is. Now, there'll be some quarterbacks available when the Colts are picking in the second round. Some names probably be like Carson Strong out of Nevada, who Dane Brugler from The Athletic mocked to the Colts. He's a kid that's got very good anticipation and he's very accurate with the football. Doesn't have the strongest arm. His knees are a real problem. He's had quite a few injuries with his knees, and it's a very big medical issue. And the Colts, unless they think they're an elite prospect, they usually tend to stay away from that. So it's just not an elite class. It'd be different if the Colts had a first round pick, if they had their 15th pick and there was an elite quarterback class up there where they would give 2 or 3 first round picks to move up and take one of those guys. But that's just not it. So I really don't see the Colts taking a quarterback this year very high, just because I don't think they would do that unless they believe this guy is the long-term solution. And as far as I could tell, none of these guys really have that high ceiling that the Colts would be looking for at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, if we do draft a quarterback late, even people are going to be like, so he's going to start this year? No. Jacob Eason, no. Sam Ehlinger, no.
He'll be battling with Sam Ehlinger for the backup spot.
Yeah, so and they'll lose because apparently the Colts love this kid, but I don't think he'll ever be the starter, unfortunately. So takes time. Somebody said something earlier. No, Jake, I'm not worried about what we would have to give up. I'm saying, what do we have to give up? We don't have a first this year. And so, I mean, we're given, and you can only give up firsts for how many years? 3 or 4? 4 years out? You can give up 4 years out?
I thought it was 3, but I'm not sure.
Either way, I mean, I'm just saying I don't think we have the capital to make a trade like that happen. I do want Kylan Granson to do better this year.
Yeah, and certainly I wouldn't want the Colts to do that for any of the quarterbacks in this draft class. I could expect them to do it for an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, maybe even a Derek Carr. Give up quite a bit of draft capital if the Colts feel strongly enough about it.
I think Derek Carr and Russell Wilson both still have a long career ahead of them.
I do too.
So, in regards to the long-term problem. All right, we got to move it along, Andrew. Other Colts news. Colts defensive line coach Brian Baker will not be back next season.
Yeah, that was just announced today. So we knew that there was probably going to be some changes on this coaching staff. And they talked about it, that the pass rush hasn't been good enough. That's not a surprise that Brian Baker will not return next year. So I think the Colts really want somebody that can really develop this young pass rushing group and make this pass rush better. So it's going to be interesting to see who they get to fill that spot.
Not a good look, just right on Hard Knocks that the dude doesn't even know how to check his email. So, I mean, poor guy. Love the guy's attitude, though. He was a lot of fun to watch on Hard Knocks.
He's a good guy, but you can get a better.
Oh man, I just remember the second to last episode, all of his daughters and stuff. Now I'm feeling sad. Yeah, that happens though. That's the business. Luce could still be gone too. Not wrong. Jonathan Taylor makes the Pro Bowl. Writers of America All NFL team. Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard on the PFWA All AFC team, and Kwity Paye makes the PFWA All Rookie team. Pro Football Writers of America.
Yep, there you go. And it was kind of expected. I like seeing Kwity Paye making a lot of these all rookie teams, though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some Colts fans are a little bit down on Kwity Paye. Me and you aren't two of those, because we think Kwity Paye is going to be a stud. He's just going to continue to get better. So it's good to see him getting recognition from around the league.
Yeah, I 100% think he's gonna end up getting better throughout these years. Now, I'm not calling him Dwight Freeney, but I think I don't think he'll be going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
Colts offensive coordinator. Oh, hold on. Good for them. Colts offensive coordinator Marcus Brady named the head coach of the West team in the East-West Shrine Bowl. Other coaches will be on the staffs as both teams as well.
Yeah, I think this is a really good thing, honestly, because these East-West Shrine Bowl games, it's not the Senior Bowl, so it's not those top elite prospects. But you're still plenty of prospects in this draft that the Colts coaches will get an up close and personal look at them and be able to work with them. Guys that maybe you can find in the later rounds, maybe early day 3 even, that can really contribute. And some of the other coaches, tight end coach Clayton Adams will be on the West team, offensive quality control coach Jared Johnson on the West, quarterback coach James Rowe on the East, and assistant offensive line coach Andrew Dees will also be on the East team.
Any ideas for defensive line, coach? I would love Robert Mathis. Bad news. Guy doesn't like to coach.
I was thinking about that earlier today, and since it just happened, I really haven't seen who's all available, or really gotten some names. But maybe I'll give you some names next week of who I think might be a good fit. That's a great name, Rod Marinelli. Because if Flus stays, that's a good point. Because if Flus doesn't stay, I don't think Rod Marinelli would come here, because I don't think Marinelli has a relationship with Reich. It's all through Eberflus, but Marinelli would be a great defensive line coach.
Yeah, but again, Robert Mathis, not a fan of the full-time coaching gig. Mm-hmm. He's got a gridiron gang thing going on here too,
right.
Like Matt said. Is that it?
That's it for the Colts news.
Okay. Let's talk about those divisional round games. What a weekend. Holy shit. What a weekend of football. I caught the end of the Bengals game in a bar in the BFE, Michigan. Had a blast. Had a hell of a weekend. And then I got to watch these games on top of it. Bengals beat the Titans 19-16. Let's give a round of applause to Joe Burrow and the Bengals going to the AFC Championship game. I think we were all big Bengals fans this weekend anyway. Them playing the Titans, just icing on the cake.
Joe Burrow is phenomenal. The dude was sacked nine times, and he still was able to pull out a victory. And Evan McPherson, that dude has some nuts on him. Dude does a warm-up kick, looks over at the backup quarterback right before he goes out for the game winner and goes, well, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship. Jogs on out there, kicks a banger to win it. Just
big dick energy right
dude
there.
Is oozing confidence. And I mean, Cincinnati Bengals, please this offseason address your offensive line. Protect Joe Burrow. Otherwise, it's going to be Andrew Luck 2.0. But wow, what a performance and what a stud Joe Burrow has become.
A lot of talk during that football game, though, about the Colts letting Danico Autry go.
Danico Autry looked really, really good. Really, really good. And I think we've all seen that this year, that the Colts probably should have made a little bit better effort to keep him with this unit.
I think he'd tell you the same thing. And the biggest shock of the weekend, I picked all 3 games. No, shit, because the Bills lost. I picked 2 out of the 4 games right. 49ers beat the Packers 13-10. That is the point in the bar extravaganza that I was a part of, that I did start to lose focus on football a bit, started talking to the locals, having a good time. What the hell happened? The Packers come out, they score. I'm like, oh, this is going to be simple game, easy game. Aaron Rodgers, another NFC championship game. Nope.
The Packers offense was not up to par. The defense did their job, but what bit the Packers once again was their abysmal special teams play. I mean, you get a blocked punt return for a touchdown that completely changes things around. And then on the game-winning field goal by Robbie Gould, the Packers don't even have 11 players on the field. That's why the Colts spend so much or put so many resources and pay so close attention to special teams, because you can have Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Alan Lazard. You can have Zadarius Smith. You can have Rasul Butler, all these guys, but you can get ruined by special teams. And that's exactly what happened to the Packers on Saturday.
So the special teams was an issue. Zaire Franklin, I think it was Zaire, tweeted something about what?
No, go ahead.
He tweeted something about how important special teams was. And I was like, and I tweeted back and I was like, yeah, it's too bad our special teams didn't show up against Jacksonville.
Yikes. Sure, he loved that.
Sure, he didn't give a shit. Probably didn't even see it. But you were starting to say something. You got anything?
Just special teams, man.
Yeah.
The Packers' special teams was abysmal. It was all year, and it finally bit him.
So I've not been listening or reading much of anything throughout the league. Pretty much just watching the games myself, maybe watching some post-game interviews and stuff like that. But the Rams beat the Bucks 30-27 in an absolute awesome football game. Matt Stafford running out the field. Come on. I'm standing up screaming, get out of the field. Everybody's yelling. I see a bunch of videos online of other people doing the same thing as me, except they're actually Ram fans. Chris, congrats. But I did not know there was actual talk about Tom Brady maybe retiring after this season. Is that real?
That is real. We'll talk about it in a bit, but yeah. I thought, I texted you. I thought Tom Brady was going to do it again. I really did.
Oh, yeah.
They were down. I think it was 20.
It was so sad the way you texted me too.
21-3.
Andrew says he's going to do it again, isn't he? He's like so defeated. He's going to do it again.
I've seen that movie way too many times.
Yeah.
But hey, Matty Stafford in a Rams uniform is a different Matty Stafford. And when you have Cooper Kupp, who is easily top 5 wide receiver in the league right now, I mean, it's just, you can't defend that. It was an absolute perfect pass by Matthew Stafford. The Rams, they tried to give it away. They really did. They turned it over 4 or 5 times. Yeah, but it was going to come down to whoever had the ball last, and it was just an absolute perfect throw, great catch, and Matt Gay got his revenge on the Buccaneers for letting him go. Kicks the game winner to kick him out of the playoffs.
That pass was beautiful. Everybody want to talk about the catch and the gain itself, and you're distracted by the running down the field and trying to clock it. That was a dime. I mean, one beautiful football. All right, and then Chiefs Bills. Chiefs win 42-36. What a disappointing ending for the Bills and Josh Allen. I mean, how's that happen? 13 seconds. The Chiefs go down and score to take it to overtime. I mean, the lead change, there's 4 in the last minute and some seconds, 25 points scored in the last minute and 50 some seconds, an NFL record. Unbelievable. And then Josh Allen doesn't get a chance to touch the football.
One of the best football games that I have ever seen in my entire life. And you see Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen just going back and forth. And it's kind of what I was talking about earlier. The Colts see that and they realize with those two guys and Joe Burrow, they need to figure out this quarterback situation, and they need to get an elite quarterback if they want any chance of competing with those guys. Absolutely great football game. A lot of people this week have been talking about the overtime rules. I think maybe you and I differ a little bit on that, because I think, I mean, the defensive players get paid too. Stop them.
Yeah, but in that specific football game right there, okay, it's different if it's 10-10, 13-13, okay? Neither side was playing defense in this game. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it should vary game to game. I do believe maybe in overtime. I saw somebody tweet about this. I don't know why I never thought about this. I think it was I know who it was and I can't think. Anyway, it was Josh. So anyway, overtime, just change the rule in the overtime. Both teams get possession. Do something. I mean, that's going to make it more exciting anyway. Isn't that what the playoffs are all about? Isn't it all about making money anyway? Isn't this an entertainment business? I mean, Josh Allen not getting the ball is a travesty. And so Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs feel the same way. It happened to them a few years ago. So, I mean, we can all sit here and I agree, step up and play some defense. But I don't know if anybody noticed, nobody was playing defense anymore on either side of the football, like neither team. So to say make a stop, well, the Chiefs didn't make a stop either. Why doesn't their defense get subject to Josh Allen? You know what I mean? That's the other way you can spin it. Why didn't their defense have to deal with Josh Allen to win a football game in overtime?
Well, and I mean,
coin toss.
If you think about it, the Bills kind of wasted it again, and it shouldn't have even gone to overtime anyway, because
I don't disagree.
They kicked it out of bounds. And
dumbest shit I could ever believe.
It was 13 seconds left. If you just squib kick it, that's going to take 5 seconds off the clock. The Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have one play, maybe two.
Kicking a touchback was a terrible decision. So,
I mean, you can't really say that when the game probably shouldn't have gone to overtime in the first place.
And Matt, good point. By 60 minutes, the defense had a disadvantage already. I mean, that's why so many points are scored in the fourth quarter by both sides of the team. Defense wears down faster because it's a lot harder to react than it is to be the person leading and causing.
No, if it was 7 on 7, sure, each team should get the ball, but again, there's plenty. These players are getting paid as well, so go out there and make a stop. If you're really going to overcome that, I mean, go out there and make a stop.
All right, conference championship this Sunday. Bengals are heading to Kansas City. Should have the odds coming up right now. Cincinnati's plus 260, Kansas City minus 335, spread 7, over under 54.5. Hammer the over. That spread's too big. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I don't really. I don't. I really don't. I don't think they are, but that's who I'm cheering for. I don't want Patrick Mahomes to go 3 years in a row. No offense to him. I like him. I like the Chiefs. I cheer for the Chiefs after the Colts are out multiple years in a row now. And if they win this, if they go to the Super Bowl and they're playing the 49ers, I'm cheering for the Chiefs again. But I would really love to see Joe Burrow go to the Super Bowl.
I think it's going to be tough for the Bengals to beat the Chiefs again because they already beat them once.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to beat them again. I do think Kansas City wins the game and goes to the Super Bowl, but that spread at -7, I'm going to take Cincinnati to cover.
I think 9 of the last 10 in the playoffs were won by the coin flip winner. Just saying, Andrew. Thank you, Stats Matt. Thank you.
Make a stop.
All right. Shut up. Yeah, so Chiefs are that Chiefs defense. I mean, if the Bengals offensive line plays like they did this week, that's going to be rough. It's going to be real rough because I mean, I don't think it's going to be. I think the defensive line for the Chiefs is better than the Titans. The way they've been playing. It's close.
I think, yeah, but that Titans defensive line is so good. Denico Autry, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree. I still would probably lean Titans.
Okay. That's fine. But either way, it's not going to be a fun day for Joe Burrow. It's going to be cold again. It's going to be a rough night. Bengals probably don't pull it off, but again, that's who I'll be cheering for this weekend.
I mean, I would love to see Joe Burrow make it. I think it would be pretty cool to see the Bengals go from the number 1 pick to a Super Bowl team in 2 years.
Yeah.
I just think Kansas City's got too much firepower, especially on that offensive side of the ball.
49ers versus the Rams. I mean, let's just try not to overthink this one, right? 49ers are not going to catch the Rams by surprise. This is the freaking NFC Championship game. It's not, Aaron Rodgers coming off a bye, whoop-de-doo, who the 49, I don't even remember who the 49ers beat in the first round. Cowboys, whoop-de shit. You know what I mean? It's not like that. I think the Rams are going to come swinging a hammer. I believe they split this year as well, and you know how hard it is for a team to beat the same team 3 times. So I think that's good for the Rams. So I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams too. I think that because the last time these two played, the 49ers beat the Rams know that they gotta step on the throat and bury this team early. So because I don't think they want to keep the 49ers in the game and then have to go out there and win it, because this 49ers defense is very good. So I'm going to go with the Rams. Spread's 3.5. I'm going to take the Rams to cover.
Hey, quick question. Did you pick the Bengals?
I picked the Chiefs.
Did you pick? No. Last week, did you pick the Bengals?
No, I picked the Titans.
Huh. Hey, did you pick the Rams?
I did pick the Rams.
Damn. Okay. Well, I guess I still got one on you last week, didn't I? Because we both picked the Bills. Or did you pick the Chiefs?
I picked the Bills, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I still got one on you. I was confident in the Bengals. All right, let's go. News around the league. Let's see here. Tom Brady to take time after the season before committing to return to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2022, considering retirement. I cannot believe this.
That's the thing is too. It really wouldn't be news, but because of his age, I mean, yes, he's probably thinking about it every year. But the way he's talking, I mean, and I think Matt mentioned it earlier.
The 49ers beat the Rams the last 2 games. They've won both games this season.
Yeah, so that makes your argument even better.
There we go. Go Rams.
Anyways, Matt earlier in the chat said that on his podcast earlier this week, the things he were saying, it was very cryptic, and he's talking about how he'd like to spend more time with his family and being there with his family, because Giselle doesn't like seeing him get hit. He wants to be there and be a dad. I think this is the most serious thing Tom Brady has considered retirement. So
yeah.
Gut feeling is he's probably comes back, because he always said he wanted to play till he's 45. Maybe he gives it one more year and plays till he's 45.
Yeah.
But again, it's the most serious that I think he's ever been about retiring.
Yeah, he'll play and win another Super Bowl probably. So that's how that's going to go. I saw a really funny video about him like winning a Super Bowl in 2072 against his own son, or something like that. And then he kisses him after the game. This shocked the shit out of me. Saints head coach Sean Payton has informed the team that he's stepping down after 15 seasons. What they haven't announced yet is that Kevin James will actually take his position. He'll play Sean Payton as the head coach of the Saints.
So there was a lot of talk the last few weeks about, there were rumors flying around that this was going to happen. And so it's not too surprising that he actually did pull the trigger. And when you look at the Saints situation, I mean, they don't have a quarterback. They're in absolute cap hell and are probably staring down a rebuild, because they're going to have to trade away and get rid of some of their high profile guys just because they can't afford them anymore. They've been pushing it down the road, and now it's kind of time to pay the piper in a sense. So it wasn't looking good for the Saints team. And I think we're going to see Sean Payton on TV. I really do. I think he would be great in the booth, as Stats Matt was saying. And there was an article that came out by your boy Florio that that he was almost traded to the Cowboys and became the Cowboys head coach a couple years ago.
I'll have you know I haven't listened to
through.
Pro Football Talk in months.
But anyways, so yeah, I fully expect him to go in the booth, maybe even Amazon, since Amazon's coming into the league next year for the Thursday night games.
They want to buy the Manning cast.
We could see that. So, and Matt's prediction of him being in the booth for a year, then being the Cowboys coach, very well could see it.
Got to move it along here, Andrew, on time. Giants hire Bills assistant GM Joe Schoen as their next GM. Fantastic hire.
This guy is very respected around the league. He helped build the Bills the right way. With their front office, obviously they're going to be they're looking to they're going to go on a run of success for multiple years now. The Giants got a good one and a guy that I think will run it the right way and get the right pieces in place there.
Bears hire Chiefs Executive Director of Player Personnel Ryan Poles as their next GM.
I feel like anybody you hire from the Chiefs right now seems like it's a good hire. Been with Andy Reid for a long time. Matt Ryan was ringing these praises today too, because I think they're very close friends. But yeah, another hire that and Ryan Poles was wanted by the Vikings. He was in, I think, the Raiders as well. He was in multiple interviews and a very hot candidate for a GM position.
Vikings hire Browns Vice President of Football Operations, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, as their next GM.
There you go. I told you I'd get you that pronunciation.
I'll just tell you right now, the first name would have gotten me maybe, but the last name's not hard. Let's get real.
I don't know much about this guy. I know he's respected, but again, I'm not sure that he has been anywhere that has won really. But again, we'll have to see how he does with the Vikings. I'm not too familiar with this guy.
Panthers hire former Giants head coach Ben McAdoo as their offensive coordinator. Man, they hate winning football games.
Get to see that mustache back on the sidelines.
Holy shit. That's awesome. Ravens fire defensive coordinator Don Martindale after 4 seasons.
This was surprising to me. Don Martindale is a very good defensive coordinator. And who knows, maybe if the Colts lose Matt Eberflus, Don Martindale might be coming to Indy. That'd be a great hire.
All right, guys, sorry to speed it up here on you at the end, but go follow us at a Colts Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Enjoy Championship Sunday. Championship Sunday in the NFL. I should be one of those voiceover guys. But yeah, hey, until next time, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. Go Colts.
Go Colts.
Let this moment become a cherished memory. And then remember, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. God bless you, and God bless football.